Okay, there we go. Oh no, don't you start singing to me. Okay, I'll just let everybody in. Permit. Hey, okay. Welcome everybody. Who have we got? We've got Kelly, we've got somebody else. Welcome. I'm going to start. Hi, Kelly. I'm going to start streaming this into the self-love community. So just give me a minute.
Yes, all the tech
side. Okay, let's see. We're going to share it to the group, into the self-love community. Go live. Fingers crossed. It says preparing to live stream. Okay, I think it's working.
Okay.
Redirecting to Facebook Live.
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Now, let's see. We're now watching the live video. All right. Now, I think this is working. Let me just check that it's in the community. It's a lot of tech. Okay. All right, good. Okay. All right, good. Okay, now why can I hear myself?
Maybe from the iPad, I wonder.
No, let me just close that down.
Maybe from the iPad, I wonder.
Okay, let's just close it. Is it working? Oh my gosh, I don't know. Sorry, Namita.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's all the tech.
It's just, yeah.
It's saying it's recording on my.
All right, let's see my Facebook, self-love community. Oh, I think it is working.
I've got an indication that it's recording on my phone, so I think it is recording.
It's working. It's working. Okay. Perfect. Well, Namita, I'm so happy to be here with you, my darling. I would love to introduce you to the self-love community and to anyone else that's joining us. First of all, welcome everybody who's come in this morning. Thank you for joining us live. You are in for such a special treat because Namita is a very, very wonderful human who's doing incredible things on this planet right now. And I would love to introduce you, Namita, as somebody who is, well, you're so many things. You're a pharmacist, you are an Ayurvedic lifestyle consultant, you are an author of 2 books so far, I believe. and you're a mom. You're a mama of 2 beautiful little boys. And I know that you've been on your own big journey. And I'd love for you to share that journey with everybody before you take us through this Ayurvedic self-care workshop, which I'm so excited for. I'll hand over to you, my love.
Thank you. Thanks, Diana, for having me. I think we've wanted to do this chat for a while now, so I'm glad the stars have aligned and we've kind of come together. But yes, funnily enough, I met Diana at a women's circle by chance. She sort of was sitting 2 women down from me, and I just remember being really, I guess, I was drawn to your energy, and you're very feminine and soft, and I loved your confidence, and I think that we just sort of connected in that way, and then we connected I guess on a client mentor level as well, which was amazing, and I guess look, in terms of my journey and what it is that I'm doing, so yes, I'm a pharmacist. So I've worked in the Western health system right across Australia. We've moved all around Australia for my husband's business, and we kind of went from the Gold Coast, well, from Sydney. I'm from Sydney. We went to the Gold Coast, Cairns, Perth, where I met you, and now back in Sydney. But really, I guess my awakening or my shift in life happened after the birth of both of my boys. So I always had this internal knowing that I was meant to do something, and I didn't know what it was. And then after I had my first son, Ari, who just turned 8, so he's not a little boy anymore. But when I had Ari, he was planned. We were married, for 5 years. I had an amazing pregnancy. There was no standout signs or signals for anyone to think anything would happen. But what happened was, after I gave birth to him, which, it was a long 30-hour labor, ended up with an emergency C-section. On day 5, when my milk set in, as I describe it in my book, I left the planet. I literally, like that, like a flick, went off in my body, my brain, and I wasn't there. I literally was filled with anxiety. And I've never suffered from it before, but it felt like knives were cutting my chest. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat, like, at all. I would have maybe half a sandwich for the whole day for months on end. Didn't sleep a wink, like not even a second. I couldn't switch off. I couldn't make decisions. I couldn't get dressed. I didn't, that was too hard. Just normal routines were hard. Making his milk bottle, I remember vividly sitting in the kitchen, and it took an hour. I walked to the microwave, to the sterilizer. It took an hour. An hour had passed on a clock, and I couldn't make his bottle. And this is me, a fully functional type A personality. I just disappeared. So, I spoke up. It took a long time the first time to realize what was happening. Me as a health professional who was in it, I couldn't see the signs. When you're the person in the trenches, and I was bringing my whole family into it too, but no one knew what was happening until week 6, when I spoke to my obstetrician, and obviously it was very evident that I had a very severe postnatal depression and anxiety. So she referred me on to see a psychologist, and, we were able to get amazing treatment modalities into place. And by week 11, as I call it again in my book, I came back to life. So what would happen in the morning, I would cringe when Ari would make a noise. Like, I wouldn't have slept, but I'd put the blankets over my head, dreading that it was another day. But this one morning, that obviously I sparked back to life. And that was in week 11, so the 4th trimester, to the day, that sort of 11-week period. I remember he was gurgling in his cot, and I just remember springing up in my bed, and I started crying with emotion. I hadn't had emotion that whole time, but I was like, that's our baby, Chandi, that's our baby. That's ours. And I grabbed him, and that heart center and that emotion was back. Like, I actually could feel him, and it was like I smelt him and felt him for the very first time. So for me, it was a very obvious leaving the planet, switching off. And it was a very obvious, once that biochemistry had restored, that I could feel like I was a mother at that point. And, it was at that moment that, motherhood was beautiful for me. It was joyous, and yes, hard as well, with sleep deprivation, as any, normal mother has. But when I had that connection back, and it was through no fault of my own that it had disappeared, that I could actually savor my time with him, and just, it was a completely contrasting experience. And then what happened next was I was severely traumatized. I decided I'm never having another child again. I couldn't do that again. But it took 4 years until, I did lots of life coaching, lots of healing work, trying to just be okay if it happened again, that I would be okay. And so I had all my ducks in order. I changed every variable in my pregnancy. Whatever I did in the first time, I made sure I did the exact opposite. So it was almost like a science experiment that, I kind of thought I could control the outcome. So changed everything. You name it, it was the opposite. And then, ironically, or whatever the universe had in store for me, the exact same thing happened. So this time I had a VBAC. I was, adamant that I wanted a natural birth. I had done prenatal yoga and exercised, and, I thought I could change everything, but exactly the same. Day 5, I woke up and I wasn't there, except the second time was actually far, far worse. I actually fell deeper. I had severe ideations. I didn't want to be here. And it was really scary. And, it was actually very, very frightening for everyone. So my entire family. So my husband, Ari, he was 4.5 at the time. He had no idea what was happening. And the symptoms were far, far worse. So this time when we spoke up earlier, and I was able to seek that help much, much sooner, which was amazing. But still, it actually took until week 11 again for me to spark back to life. So again, at that point, that one was the real awakening for me, because I don't look at life the same way. It has been such a huge shift in my awareness. I don't take anything for granted. When health and mental health is intact, how can I sweat the small stuff? So I don't. I just savor all that life has to offer. But it also kind of jolted me and shifted me into this whole area of perinatal mental health for women, and to share my experience, and also to kind of debunk the Western medication, Western pharmacist, treatments and modalities. There's a lot of myths, there's a lot of misconceptions. So to debunk those from that perspective, to share my lived experience. But then I also stumbled across Ayurveda, and I had this internal knowing that it happened to me for a reason. And I stumbled across a beautiful teacher in Perth that just felt right. I felt like, okay, you know what? I just need to do this. I had just recovered. He was only 4 months old when I started studying, but I was like, I know that I have to do something on this planet. This hasn't happened to me twice for a reason. And so I went on to study Ayurveda from Ayurveda Awareness in Perth. And it was like coming home. When my teacher would speak to me, I'd get goosebumps, like, oh, this is amazing, beautiful, ancient, profound wisdom that really looks at our body in a whole beautiful, holistic way. And one course led to another. And so now I'm an Ayurvedic yoga teacher and Ayurvedic lifestyle consultant, because I just want to share this knowledge. I want to share holding and rejuvenating and looking after our women, not just from a clinical perspective, but from a whole holding vantage point. And I feel like it is bringing that Eastern and Western sides together. We can't use one or the other. I feel like that synergistic use of the two is what really will create health and vitality and wellness. And, also for me, being in the trenches and living that experience, I want others to know that they're not alone. I want to almost, I literally put all my, I won't swear, but I put all my stuff out there so that there's nothing left to the imagination. It's all good to know symptoms in theory, but really understanding what it looks and feels like for the mother prior to entering motherhood, I think there's not enough information about what postnatal depression can look like, what it can feel like, what it can do to a family. And I believe lots of families may break apart. A lot of people we lose. Suicide is actually the third biggest cause of death in the first 12 months postpartum. And to me, that is horrific. It's in the same line as sepsis. I mean, that is not a small number. And these are people's mothers that are taking their lives. And so I don't take that lightly. I don't take any of this lightly. 1 in 5 women have perinatal mental health conditions, so in pregnancy and post-birth. And these women feel alone. I felt alone. I felt like no one understood what I was going through. And that had to change. I felt like I need to speak and teach other health professionals about it. We're so perfectly placed to help women, but we're not trained in it. We're not. And I want to, kind of not educate, but inform pregnant women what it can look like, and their partners, so that if their partner or wife has left the planet as I did, that they don't run away, that they're there with them, they hold their hand, they walk them towards recovery, because it's so incredibly important. And even as an Indian woman, that's my, I'm born and raised in Sydney, but I'm Indian, and in our culture there's so much hiding, there's so much, we only talk about our good stuff, but what about the ugliness? What about the hardship and the pain and the torture? We don't talk about that. And so that's where I almost feel like it was a second chance of life to just lay it all out there and use my voice and all of these modalities to help our women, because they matter.
Wow.
So that's how I've come to this point. Long story short.
I could listen to you talk about this all day. You're so just allowing us to see that vulnerability, and just that's what you're doing. You're spreading this message through your book and through all your work that you're doing. And thank goodness that you're not hiding away, and that you are speaking out and shining the light, is the title of your book.
Yes.
We are so grateful for you, and just so glad that you're doing the work that you're doing.
Amazing. And that's the thing. I feel like if nothing changes, nothing changes. And it has to change, because, if I imagine my family without me in it, I mean, how broken, how can they go on? And I held on for my boys. And, even though I didn't have that heart brain connection at the time, I knew I had to just hang on and fight another day for them. And, I want all mothers to just never give up, because help and recovery is possible, and it feels like it's not possible when you're in it. And that's actually the scariest of all. But, if someone can share their story and show that life can be so beautiful and amazing afterwards, and it is possible for everyone, then, that's sort of, even if I can help one person, then, I feel like my purpose has been, kind of achieved.
You are living your purpose. You are 100% living your purpose. So tell me, so you came across Ayurveda, and what was it that started to change things for you? What was it that happened for you that really started to help turn the corner?
Yes. So the first thing I really found was that it was a very intuitive modality. So a lot of the things that I was drawn to naturally actually was Ayurveda. It actually was. So it's a very intuitive modality, definitely. So it works to bring about balance, and it really is understanding what your own unique composition is, and then it is about finding what strategies will bring balance to what's going on in your system. And I loved how mindful it was, how empowering it is. So, we have a unique personal responsibility with Ayurveda to make choices, and it looks at a person holistically. So it looks at our physical body, but it also looks at our mind. So, what we take in through our stimuli, all five senses, and the impact that it makes. Also through our nutrition, so through practices. There's just so many branches in our life that we can use Ayurveda to actually create subtle, beautiful respite and changes in our body. And so I love that. And particularly for mothers, and I guess in my presentation, I kind of have, sort of put a slide on there. But what I loved and what really resonated with me the most was it actually was an explanation for what happened in my postpartum depression as to why it happened and what I possibly could have used at the time to help bring that balance back at the same time as Western modalities. So it kind of is an explanation from another perspective that I really, I kind of resonated so much with. It made a lot of sense to me. And we use it at home all the time. If I'm being angry, my little boy will say, your pitta imbalanced, which is one of the doshas, which is the fire. And it's like, oh my gosh, yes, I am. I need to be very mindful. So, and the way I cook in the kitchen is different because I'm so aware of the energy and the essence that I put into the food has an impact on the energy when we eat, and just subtle things that kind of has infiltrated my whole life and everything that I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited that you're going to take us through a little presentation.
Yes. So I'll share my screen.
You say it so much nicer than me.
Oh.
You say it so beautifully.
Oh, what's this doing? Oh, I don't know why. What? Can you see that?
Yes, I can see.
Oh, you can. Okay,
yes.
Perfect. Sorry, I don't know what I did. I think. Okay. So I thought I'd go through just almost like a crash course on what Ayurveda is, and I guess it gives some kind of foundational understanding of why or what we need to balance once we've had a baby, or even in motherhood as a whole. I think that balance is something, when we live a very stressful life. So now that I'm back in Sydney as well, I utilize so many of the practices because so much of that stress and that hustle bustle life has come back into my life. So, this is something that we can apply in all areas of our life and at multiple times. So what is Ayurveda? So its literal translation is the science of life. And it's an ancient practice of medicine, and it originated in India 5,000 years ago. Now, what's so funny is obviously because I am Indian, a lot of the things my parents would say, I used to think they were old wives' tales or didn't really understand the merit until I obviously, started learning it myself. And so the basic principles of Ayurveda is we've got a 5-element theory, and that is that all living beings or all living, anything that's living in the entire universe is made up of 5 elements. So they are air, space, fire, water, and earth. Now, every unique being is made up really of its own elements, and so that makes it have its unique characteristics. So if you think of a bright red rose, obviously, your mind would automatically be drawn to that fire aspect and possibly water. When you think of a dandelion that's so light and wispy and you blow it, it's just going to break away and move. So you can imagine the air and space aspect to that particular plant. Now, with Ayurveda as well, there's a like increases like theory. So basically that principle is that we want to bring the opposite aspect to create balance within our body. So if you imagine that dandelion, that's already made up of air and space, and if you blow it, so you're bringing more air to that it's going to break away. It's going to actually disintegrate. So that is the like increases like. And it's actually very similar to Western medicine in that you bring something to actually balance what's happening within the body. So I actually found it quite different, I guess, to homeopathy, which actually uses the opposite premise where, they try to increase what's happening so your body can combat it itself. So this I felt resonated quite a bit to my Western medicine knowledge anyway. So it kind of made sense to me. Now, you would have heard the word doshas, perhaps, when we're talking about Ayurveda. And basically what doshas are energetic systems. So they're made up of the 5 elements, so the air, space, fire, water, and earth. And all of us have our own unique blueprint. So we were born with a unique blueprint of what we naturally are. And so when we understand what we're made up of, then we can actually make choices in our nutrition, in our lifestyle, in our practices. So when we notice that we're becoming out of balance, that we can bring elements back in to balance ourselves. So I love that. It's very fluid. It's not a static way of being. We can, you have ebbs and flows. And I can notice that within my body. If I've had extra chili or alcohol, I can feel that within my body. But then I can actually try to bring aspects to help balance that. And, within a few days, I know that it will restore or come back to harmony again. So the 3 doshas, and again, you might have heard these words before, are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So Vata is made up of air and space. Pitta is made up of fire and water. And Kapha is made up of earth and water. Now, each of those doshas have their own unique qualities. So Vata is very cold, dry, rough. It's responsible for movement. So all movement within the body that Vata dosha is made up of. Pitta, so fire and water, it's very much to do with our digestive fire. And, I'll go through the different traits in the next few slides. And Kapha is that very stable, strong quality. Now, I'm a Vata Pitta. That's my prakriti, as we would say, or my natural constitution. And so generally we tend to be 2 of the 3. Though they all exist in our body, but we predominate with generally 2. It's very uncommon to just have 1 as a predominant dosha. So the traits of a Vata dosha. Now, Vata, this particular energy system, so it's made up of air and space, but it's very much related to our nervous system. So again, I guess understanding that I am a predominantly Vata dosha, after childbirth, when this air and space increases. Now, if you can imagine there's a baby in our womb, we give birth, and now our womb is empty, right? So there's more air and space now within our body. So we tend to increase naturally. All women who've had a baby will have an increase in this Vata imbalance. And if it's closely related to our nervous system, then you can imagine, enter anxiety, enter insomnia, enter all of these erratic movements. It's the opposite of grounding. So that makes sense to me. Typically, we can talk very fast. You can have a small frame and a build. They tend to be cold, maybe dry hands, cold extremities. And so when there's a lot of movement, so a lot of, that hustle bustle city lifestyle, we're adding too much air, space, and movement. And so we become out of balance. So that's how Vata is involved in motherhood. So when we think about, stop, starting, maybe say we're cooking dinner, we have to pack the lunches, get them out to school, do our job, pick them up, that start, stop, hustle, bustle. It's creating too much movement, and our nervous system, which is this fight or flight system, it gets aggravated. We call that a real stretching of the system. And yes, postpartum, we talk about the first 12 months after delivery, but in Ayurveda, we really understand that this balancing process can take up to 5 years from delivering a baby. So if we don't rest, if we don't rejuvenate, if we don't put back these earth and grounding qualities into our system on a daily basis, then, you know, you can imagine our nervous systems may eventually snap anyway. You know, we really can make little, I guess, additions or subtle changes into our life to kind of bring balance there. So essentially, yes, we want to balance out Vata dosha by bringing earth and water qualities. So we're talking about the Pitta type now. Now, look, there are lots of different quizzes. I mean, how reliable they are online. If you want to know what your, Prakriti or natural constitution is, definitely, I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find, lots of different quizzes, or you'll find charts where you can actually work out what is predominant for you. So it'll look at your physical characteristics, even as looking into your dreams, whether your dreams are very frightful or jumpy or very romantic, and meadow, flowers in the meadows, there's lots of different traits that it will look at to actually work out what your predominant nature is. But the Pitta dosha is made up of fire and water. So that gives people a lot of passion, a lot of drive, concentration, high motivation. But they can be very, they can be aggressive, short-tempered. They have a very good metabolism, tend to have like a stronger athletic type build, and they tend to run hot typically. So again, say for instance, in summertime, if a Pitta type person is eating lots of chili, they're going to have too much fire. Then you can imagine that they would be a lot more irritable, enter road rage, or, a lot of aggression there. So what we would do is we would try to balance that by bringing more cool, lighter elements in. So cucumber, or, something like, even coriander is very cooling energetically to the system. So we would try to bring the opposite effect to compensate for that extra heat. Now, the Kapha type is made up of earth and water. They tend to be very loyal, very grounded, very dependable. They can be quite slow. So you'd typically say of an elephant, that would be like a typical Kapha image. They tend to be clammy, so they're cold, but they have that moisture, they have that water within them. They have a slower metabolism. And I guess if you have a predominant Kapha quality, then knowing that your metabolism and your Agni, which is your digestive fire, is, weaker than perhaps a Pitta type, then it kind of just brings understanding to what your natural body is like. So I almost feel like it is an explanation as well as to why different bodies are the way they are. We're not all the same. We are all, we all have our unique blueprint. So I love that about Ayurveda as well. It's not a one size fits all model, which I love. So look, I guess my take home message really about pregnancy is, not only Ayurveda looks at, the stimulation, all of the lifestyle that a pregnant woman does or have, that it has an imprint on the growing baby within the womb. So in Ayurveda, there's a lot of emphasis on making sure the mother is relaxed, very well rested, almost they treat her like a goddess. I'm imagining, putting flower petals in front of her. They really treat her as a divine gatekeeper of this beautiful soul. And, that respect is given all throughout. And, I love that. I think that's very different to our Western living of, we work right till the end, and we kind of, I think we're a bit unkind to ourselves. We have this mindset of working ourselves to the bone, but Ayurveda really does acknowledge the Yeah, the importance of rest and rejuvenation and nourishment, and that our beautiful baby will reap the benefits of that. And also us as a mother, you know, this process of growing a baby and birthing this baby is no easy task. So I feel like we do, you know, it is appreciating that. And I guess it's the acknowledgement that with a newborn, there is broken sleep and there is so much more activities and things that we need to do so that Vata dosha does get imbalanced. And we really need to take on board Vata balancing practices. And so I'll go through these with you just on a very basic level. But our aim is to rejuvenate, nourish, bring that earth and water aspects into our body. So what does it look like? What does it look like? So in terms of nutrition, we can use different spices to bring those qualities of heat and that earth quality. We can add things like ghee. Ghee is such a high vibration food that we can add to anything. And it's bringing that oil, that water, that moisture quality that we need if we're remembering that Vata is air and space and it's rough. We're bringing that oil back into our system. The choices that we make in terms of our vegetables and fruit, you know, we want, if you think of, say, a root vegetable like a potato versus a very light, airy, you know, one of those like a cauliflower, if you can imagine, they're a lot more lighter in nature. We want more grounding, more root vegetables. We want to bring warmth and oil in terms of Abhyanga, which is a self-massage. And I guess in pure Ayurvedic principles, someone else would come and massage the pregnant mum and, you know, just after she delivered. But, you know, we can do that ourselves as well, or we can have our partner or mother-in-law, you know, actually massage our body with warm. Sesame oil is a beautiful oil. It's actually got heating properties in itself. And it's something that really is bringing that earth quality back. Rest. So sleep is a huge pillar of health in Ayurveda, also Western medicine, and that really will help to nourish our nervous system. And yes, keeping warm. So our ears as well are a seat of Vata. Our Vata dosha is has an important role in our ears. So wearing a beanie, you know, sounds silly and very much what your grandma would say, but keeping warm after you've had a baby or whilst you're pregnant is just such a simple thing to do, but it can really help to not allow too much air and space into your ear. And also bringing earth and water qualities with our five senses. So in the book that I've written, I have gone into detail about, you know, different smells, so different essential oils that have, you know, those grounding properties, different sounds. You know, they all have a very subtle colors. Colors have an imprint as well. So, you know, we can kind of make very mindful choices if we know that we're taking in all of this sense by sense. And so, look, I guess in terms of self-care routines that, you know, you can do in any or always, you can just do a couple of minutes a day, or, you know, if you're finding that it's helping you amazingly, then to actually make it part of your daily routine, that would be amazing. But the main aim is to actually support our nervous system. So it's related to this air and space. We want to bring earth and water. That's really the whole premise behind all of these principles. So the 5 self-care routines is Abhyanga, which is the self-massage. So Anadi Shodhana Pranayama, which is a breathing exercise. So I'll go through how you can do that in the next slide. So Ayurvedic yoga and exercise, sleep, cooking with the sadhana of the kitchen, and being very mindful and present with all our things that we do in the day, and that they're all very small things that have a cumulative effect within our body. So the first one is Abhyanga. So I would recommend using sesame oil, and you can heat it either on a small bowl, you know, on a stove, or I actually use a milk bottle warmer. So I've still got one of those from Kai. So I just heat up my oil in the milk warmer. And ideally, if you can do it morning and night, that's amazing. You can keep the oil on for a minimum of 8 to 10 minutes. If you can keep it on for 45 minutes, that's amazing. But then you do want to wipe it away. So yes, it's sort of almost removing the toxins as well. So it's good for lymphatic drainage, but particularly for nervous system calming. That's why I've included it here, because whether we see it or not, you'll feel it. You'll feel that grounding and that beautiful, feel like a warm embrace, which, we can all do with that. And so ideally you would do it everywhere. But if you've got no time, I understand. At least do the crown of your head. So just clockwise direction, just a few drops of oil on your crown, the soles of your feet, and pop socks on so you don't slip. If you can do your hands and your wrists, that's amazing. The back of your neck, inside your ears, just very slightly, and inside your nose. So and again, if that still feels like it's too much, then the crown of your head, the soles of your feet, and probably your ears, that would be enough. And yes, definitely at nighttime, you'll find that you'll sleep so much better. It's definitely will help with that. Now, another one is the breathing exercise. So this Nadi Shodhana is an alternate nostril breathing. So not only, I guess, are we being very mindful, it's almost like a meditation because you're just focusing on your breath, which is amazing, but also it has been proven to pacify or calm down our vata system. And you're bringing prana, this life force energy, all through your body. And I know when I do it, I feel like, someone's vacuumed out my brain. I just feel like I've got all this clarity and, I love it. I love doing this. So essentially what you're doing is you're covering your left nostril with your pinky, your right nostril with your thumb, and then the rest of your fingers are just on your third eye chakra. And all you're doing is alternating your inhalation. So if you hold your left nostril with your pinky, breathe in through your right nostril first. And then you hold your right nostril with your thumb and breathe out through your left nostril. And then you repeat it. Now you're breathing in through your left and then out through your right. And so you're just alternating these. Now, I love to do it for, say, 5 minutes at a time. Definitely, if I can do it first thing in the morning, I feel amazing. If you can do it twice a day, that's brilliant. But wherever you are and however long you can dedicate to it, this is a practice that you definitely will feel clearer, calmer. You're pacifying your nervous system, and yeah, it's beautiful. I do enjoy that. Now, Ayurvedic yoga is using those principles of bringing that grounding earth asanas into supporting your nervous system. So really, I guess if you are a yoga, you practice yoga, if you think about what is going to bring a lot of heat and stability. So we're really looking at our lower body. So an eagle pose and chair pose and the warriors, for example, are all heating, grounding. You can imagine your feet firmly on the earth, and it really is bringing that earth aspect. We don't want to do too much fast, erratic movement. So if you think of running, it's too much movement if you're already feeling like your nervous system is aggravated. So we want more slow yin or restorative types of yoga versus, say, aerobics or a lot of jumping, fast-paced movement. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do slow activities forever. It's just when you feel, say, imbalanced, that grounding, calm, slow activities will help. And with exercise, from a Western perspective, it has been found 20 minutes a day minimum, but consistently. So over a 2-3 month period, you will the mental health actually does improve a lot. So anxiety, depression, it has been proven to really help as a wonderful tool, but on a consistent basis. It's not something you can go for a swim and then suddenly you've recovered. It's something that if you make it a consistent practice, then it definitely can help. So sleep is another big one. Now, in Ayurvedic perspective, sleeping at 10 p.m. and waking up at 6 a.m. is ideal. So there are certain times of the day in Ayurveda that have certain functions or purposes, but sleeping by 10 allows you to process what's happened through the day. It allows your body to actually rest and rejuvenate and actually clear what's happened. If you sleep later than that, then you're entering a different cycle of time. And waking at 6, ideally even before 6, that's when you've got the most, I guess, energy, like to jump out of bed almost. If you sleep, if you get up at 7, that kapha quality, that slower, sluggish quality can come about. So sometimes when you do sleep and you might feel more tired, and that's why. So waking up at 6 now, again, obviously with a newborn or a small child, we can get up 100 times in a night. So, again, saying to sleep is not helpful for a mother who can't sleep. I don't think that's very fair. So in Ayurveda, the principle is if you've lost 4 hours of sleep in the night, then the next day, if you can try, however you can, whether you call on a friend to sit with the baby or your partner, or, however, ideally that's where the tribe and the support network is very important. But what Ayurvedic principles would say is that you would make up half the time that you've lost the next day. So if you've lost 4 hours, the next day to try to catch up on 2 hours, and that will help at least to bring some balance. Now, I would say there's lots of sleep hygiene strategies that we can, bring into our lives, switching off the TV, blue light blocking glasses, only reading or sleeping in your bed, not watching TV or eating. But there's lots of different strategies. So the sleepfoundation.org has amazing sleep hygiene strategies. But that's a big one for Ayurveda as well. And the last one, which I mentioned before, was this cooking with the sadhana of the kitchen. So that is essentially, it's a conscious food preparation. So it's making the whole process a very sacred time. You're infusing it with beautiful thoughts and almost, you could do a prayer before you cook or play some music. Very mindful way. Now, if you think of cooking with that type of energy, with say in a rush and frazzled and you're angry, or you're doing it quickly, the food itself can have a different essence and energy around it. And so the other thing that my teacher had said is that even when you're washing the dishes, if you are just concentrating on one plate at a time, if you concentrate on one, just what you're doing instead of thinking of the next activity, that you're being completely present, and that will bring a lot of grounding, a lot of that earth quality that we need, rather than air and space and too much movement, the next task. If we just treat every opportunity as being mindful, then everything's meditation. I think for me anyway, I think that's the way I've kind of interpreted this particular strategy. So again, these all sound amazing in theory, and all I would say is to do or start wherever you are. If you can only do 1 minute of something, then that's great, and be kind to yourself, and don't bring any guilt or shame for not doing it every day. Do your best every single day, and that's all we can do, I feel. But yes, that was my little crash course in Ayurveda. So hopefully, the principles made sense, and there's little things that you may have taken away from that.
Thank you, Namita. Wow, that was so good. I love that. I believe that I'm mostly Vata, constitution. So I was looking at what you were saying about
Yes.
exercise and not doing things too fast. And
Yes.
I've started very recently going to hot yoga, which is
Yes.
quite slow and also hot,
Yes.
which has been amazing. And
Yeah.
it really makes sense, well, what you're saying, to balance the doshas.
Yes, exactly. And I guess it's just being that, that mindful energy and making little subtle changes. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, or, you don't have to change every single thing. But if you just sort of, take different aspects away with you and try to make subtle changes, that it all adds up.
I love it. I love also what you were saying about the conscious food prep, because I know for sure when I'm rushing and just throwing food together, it doesn't taste as good as if you're really consciously taking time and prepping your food and, setting good intentions. And it really does make a massive difference.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
No, you're most welcome.
I wish I'd known all of that when I was pregnant with my boys.
Completely.
I wish, I'm so happy that, that this information is out there for people who are, going through that journey for the first time or for the second time or third, that this actually, what you said about the tribe, not having that tribe anymore it's a big deal.
Yes.
It's a big deal. And yeah.
Definitely. And I also think that in our society, we're just so harsh on ourselves. I think we want to achieve everything yesterday, and we kind of slog the horse. But there are times or chapters in our lives where it's okay to put your foot off the pedal. And I think that, getting that permission to be able to just slow down and look after yourself, and it's not selfish. It's not, you can be a much better partner and friend and sister and mother and everything if you do look after just your basic requirements. So
so thank you for that reminder as well.
Yes.
I think we all need it. The self-care is not selfish. It is actually benefiting everybody around you.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, thank you. And I think you've got a beautiful meditation for us now.
Yes. Well, I know I'm mindful of the time, so I'll spend a couple of minutes at least. But yeah, not a hugely long one. But yes, I will put some music. But essentially, I guess the first thing I would say is meditation you can do anywhere. Just as I was saying before, it doesn't have to be a ritual where you sit alone on top of a hill. You can do it while you're walking or driving or washing dishes. So, if you just focus on your breath or be mindful in whatever you're doing, that is meditation in itself, which is important. Oops. But now what I would say is, wherever you are currently, essentially to just find a comfortable space. Now, if you're sitting on the floor, just to be really connected with your lower half on the earth beneath you. If you're sitting on a chair, to just really feel your feet firmly planted on the earth beneath you. And to take 3 deep diaphragmatic breaths in, so through your nose, and out through your nose again. Deeply in and out. Deeply in again and out. Now I want you to imagine a beautiful, warm, orange light coming from the earth beneath you. Imagine it's warm. And as it comes through your feet, or whether it's through your sitting bones if you're sitting, but just imagine this beautiful, warm light coming in through your body. And as it goes up your legs, imagine it's warming you and holding you. As it slowly goes up over your knees and your thighs, allow it to envelope your pelvis and your hips, to cover your entire womb space, almost feeling like a warm embrace as it travels up through your spine, over your back, through and around your stomach, to support your digestion, to assimilate all of the nutrients that you eat, to nourish your body. Allow the light now to go over your heart space, to soften any residual emotions you might be carrying there, but to warm it and soften it. Imagining the light coming over your chest, across your shoulders, and softening any tension that you might be carrying there. Gently melting away any knots, any burdens you're carrying. You've got permission to just let it go. Allow the light to go down your arms, across your elbows, down through each and every finger, melting away all the tensions that were on your shoulders out from your body. And then imagine the light going up your neck, circulating around your jaw, softening your jaw if you've been clenching them. Any tension, allow it to just melt away across your cheeks and your nose and your mouth. And now allow it to go to the crown of your head, almost like it's massaging every nook and cranny in your brain, just one fold at a time, warming it and lighting it up as it goes, clearing any stagnation and cloudiness that might be there. And then imagine now this aura that you have just fully encapsulated with this beautiful warm light. And I want you to carry this warmth with you throughout the day, to feel grounded and connected to the earth that you came from, that you're part of. And if you're through the day and you're very busy, just come back to this feeling and know that you have access to it at any time you need it. Thank you. And when you're ready, you can come back into the room. And that was that.
Thank you. Oh, that was so lovely. That was so nice.
Yeah, so, but thank you so much. I had a lovely time. I felt like I talked a lot, maybe too much.
No, I'm grateful that you shared all of that with us, because yeah, it's so good, and it's just such a beautiful reminder that slowing down is worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely. And I think that sometimes, we might feel like there's something wrong with us if we're not feeling ourselves, but that's where I feel like with that understanding, there can only be compassion, if you can understand that it's just being off balance, and we can, and I'm not naive to say, oh yes, by having a spice, you won't be depressed anymore. I know it's more than that. I know it's actually utilizing both modalities. But, you know, I think that it's saying that it's okay to not be okay, and not wearing a mask anymore is just so important. And we do that all the time as mothers, you know, and it's okay to just take the time out for yourself. And if you can't make the time, then I get that. I get it. With 2 young boys, I get it. Some days, you know, I just like that. But then I will be kind to myself, and I'll see what changes I can make. So yeah, that's sort of just really the take-home message.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. And where can people find you, Namita? Where can people find more information about
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I think the easiest place would probably be my website, which is holistichealingco.com. So holistic with a WHOLE, and that's basically, yeah, that's got links to, so I've got blogs on there, links to the podcast that I have. There's a link to the YouTube channel, so there's some videos up there, and I guess my and also the plugs for the the social media platforms as well, so Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, really my aim is to try to develop, so I've got a podcast each week where I go through Eastern and Western modality strategies to help us all thrive. And then I really do go into detail about perinatal mental health. So I, trying to strip down the conditions. So I'd love for all new and expectant parents to know everything. It's better to know too much before it happens than to be blindsided by it. So I really want it to be a resource, like a go-to resource for anyone with perinatal anxiety and depression to just have those tools available to them.
And such amazing tools as well. Thank you, Namita. Thank you for coming in and sharing that with us, and for the meditation. And we're so proud of you, doing what you've done and your whole journey. My favorite thing in the world is when people can take adversity and turn it into something beautiful, which you have. So well done.
Thank
so proud of you.
Thank you.
All right, my lovely. We'll end it now. And if anyone has any questions, they can reach out onto the community, and we'll get to them. Awesome. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that is it for now. There is yes, if anyone has any questions, they can pop on, and we can get to it after. Thank you, says Frances. Beautiful. Frances was actually my postnatal doula, so how perfect. Yeah.
So I think you might still be recording.
Okay, lovely. All right, my lovely. Let me just end this recording now, and yeah. Thank you, Namita.
No, amazing. Thank you. That was